Hello, good people. Welcome to our show. Hello, bad people. Welcome. Today we're going to discuss more about building communities. I know it's my weak side. That is why I'm so excited to discuss a lot more with David Homan. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk to all the good and bad people. So I'm glad they both
Yeah,
joined.
yeah. I never divide them bad or good. I think everyone is good. But if you ask bad people if they're bad, they will reply, no, they are good. So it's subjective. Nobody knows about that. But anyway, my main goal to bring value. It doesn't matter what kind of people you are. I just want to bring value to human beings, and of course, it's very important topic, including me, because I have my projects that I need to start from scratch to build communities. We chatted a little bit before the podcast. I showed you my new project SM Chat that can speak in 95 languages in just 2 seconds and reply to all customer requests. So I'm looking for ways how to build this community. David, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, about your book, and give me, for example, a good reason to read this book because I love reading books. It's amazing format, but I'm so picky to choose the right book because we have a lot of choices, many great books. I can't read all of them, but if you give me a strong reason and to my audience, I will definitely take your book.
All right. Well, strong reason for you is you put me on your show. So now you're obligated to read it. But for everyone else, here's a little bit about me. So I am an actual classical pianist and composer. And so my world is understanding connection and business through the lens of being an orchestrator, a musician. And so everything that I've done is apply that creative world into understanding what we would call in music the resonance. And I study that with the resonance of people. So for the last 11 years, I've run a global network that exists in 35 countries, 188 cities, 2,600 active members. Everyone in it is a convener, a connector, a super connector. They are often the most connected person you've ever met. They are the people that when you tell them your son's looking for a new job, they go, let me just call up this person. They make the call, the person gets the interview. You walk in some event where you're not sure who's there, and there's like two billionaires taking a bunch of people to their yacht for a big philanthropy event, and they go, you should meet my friend. And their friend's the person who's hosting the event. So I've studied all those types of people. I've studied what makes people tick, what makes people work, and what makes people not good or bad, but whether they are givers or takers and everything in between. And in that, I realized there was a lot of work I had to do on myself to understand how I lived with purpose, how I asked with intent, and how I surrounded myself with people who felt the same. And I've now built that into a global community, which was the basis of the book, Orchestrating Connection.
Nice, awesome, awesome. I definitely will take your book. I have a bunch of books that I need to read, must read. So it's a new one on my list. Especially, I know it's my big side. I need to improve. I wanna to build these connections, and it's important to grow any project. You can build amazing product, but if you have no connections, if you have no right people surround you, so it's tough. David, can you tell more about building connections? Some people can be introverts, some are extroverts, and does it make a big sense for introverts to start building their communities, or it's only for job for extroverts? What do you think?
So extroverts are often the worst connectors. They
Mm,
seem to be great because they can walk into a room, they can talk up anyone, but it doesn't mean they add value. The best connectors in my network actually are all introverts, and
wow.
we've learned how to build trust, how to connect in a way that makes us feel good when we connect. So the hardest thing is that we think connecting or convening is like that tall, handsome guy at a bar chatting up everyone. What real connection is the two people who didn't walk up to the bar. They stood in line near the bathroom and they had a 30-minute conversation about life, about kids, about losing a parent, about something that they're doing. And then after they build trust, one leans to the other and goes, you know, you should meet my friend. So real connection can only be one-on-one. You can technically do it in a small group, but then an action that comes from meeting somebody is always going to be one-to-one. There's no such thing as a community then introducing themselves to another community, everything is personal. So you have to understand that how you show up, how you act is key. And one thing that introverts do extremely well, which extroverts have to learn, introverts are they're much better at being curious. And oftentimes they have a harder time being truly vulnerable, but they're more willing than somebody who puts on their mask and says what they're supposed to say. And everything that I studied in connection, like the two founding principles of really building authentic, real connection, are to start by being curious and be courageous enough to be vulnerable enough that somebody will start to begin to open up and tell you about their real day, not how the weather is and how great they're doing, because none of us actually feel that way, but we pretend to.
Nice. Yeah, like it. Yeah, I think it's introverts can listen more. Yeah, it's a powerful tool. Listening. When you listen to others, then you know what kind of pain points, problems others have, because extroverts can talk about themselves and probably are not curious a lot about other people. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I like it.
but I will say there are a lot of extroverts in my network that are incredible people and they're really great listeners. They just don't have that same nervousness that an introvert also does to get over the first part of a conversation. But whether you start a conversation as an introvert or an extrovert, you have to figure out your way to do it. But once you're in one, you're just human. It doesn't matter how you started it. The extrovert and introvert are what's sitting on the sides of getting there.
Awesome. David, can you tell where to start? For example, I shared my project, SM.chat. So this project can replace the entire customer support. We built this project for one big company in Crete. So they rent luxury yachts for rich people, and these people can speak different languages. So, and they were frustrated for a long time because customers opened their website and never convert. Some of them converted, but most of them just left to competitors. And they told me, we need to find a solution, because we usually reply on phones in the next day. We can't book meetings in the same day, and we can see competitors can do this job much faster. I mean, like in a few hours. So what we've done, we developed a tool that can speak with customers in 2 seconds, much faster than any competitor, can speak 95 languages, can learn about the business. And it's amazing product. Everyone can test it, but it's tough in the beginning to sell even amazing product when you have all these connections and communities. David, can you advise me and listeners on this podcast who have own projects, great projects, where to start? I mean, like for completing new project.
Sure. So the best insight you can gain from anyone is knowing what they want.
Yeah.
That is what all marketing strives to do. But marketing is about putting something out that hopefully you react to. And the way most people connect is by going fishing to see if somebody's going to react. The best organizations on the planet that start with questions and then turn that into conversion are religions. The rates from years ago for Mormonism and Christianity, or Chabad within Judaism, they were insane because they start by asking questions in Mormonism. Just, can we pray with you? And many religions do this, but they do this in a very particular way that is welcoming without making you feel like you have to be in something. And in the Chabad section of Judaism, they simply ask what they can do for you, and then they do it. And that action taken, or the question given, is a large basis of how I formed what I believe is the answer to your question, which is when you immediately jump in with somebody and tell them what you're about and hope it works, they're not heard, which is why you start with curiosity. When you treat them as if, and this is generally not just you, I totally like anyone treats you as somebody that they're trying to assess whether you're valuable or not, we all feel it and we understand it. So when we walk in, and instead of saying, and I'll just pick apart what you said as an example for everyone listening. If you say, I solved this customer's problem, but I really got them to trust me to tell them what it is. And now I've built something that's going to help them better. Instead of saying, what do I do next? It's, shifting entirely, which is not, do you have this problem, but about that person, what they are going through, what they need. And the more you focus first on that as opposed to a sale, what you can build is a much longer term ripple effect because you built trust first. And this can happen on a WhatsApp call. This can happen in a Zoom room. This can happen in person. But there's a way to do it where we are always looking at it in two ways: how we think we are going to be able to approach people and how we want to be approached. And everyone listening should know how they want to be approached. They don't want a 20-minute conversation with somebody telling them how great that person is and then the person walks away. They don't want a conversation where the person finally goes, well, your uncle owns this thing. Can I meet him? They don't want to feel like they don't have value. So you have to start and pause on, can I figure out the value of this person? Can I have them feel recognized by it? And can I get them to see if I can help them? Once you reverse that just a little bit, it's how we would want to be approached, and everything changes from that with how then business interaction can occur.
Yeah, I think like everyone should read this book, Dale Carnegie. He wrote like this book almost 100 years ago, but he said the same. I mean, like you need to listen to others to understand their interests, and I can feel that most generic marketing is broken because nobody read this book. They usually, for example, I get a lot of requests every single day on my email. Someone is trying to sell me something. They don't know what I need. They don't care what kind of problems I have. They just want to sell their stuff. Who cares how great your problems? Everyone cares about own problems. David, you mentioned a few times about trust. Can you tell more about trust? How to build this trust? And, okay, if we have personal connection, one-to-one, for example, we speak right now, so we have this connection. Can you tell me how to build this trust feeling between us?
So trust is based on choosing to continue to spend time with somebody and whether you take actions to support them. I don't believe trust is built by any other thing. You trust somebody enough to ask for what you need, and then they earn that trust by giving you value or even just the intention of that value. So I'll give you an example, and this will come from a LinkedIn posting that I did into an action. So last fall, I lost my father. He was 87 years old. He lived a beautiful life, but it was a horrendous several months for me. And I was courageous enough, because I do walk the talk with what I do, to post online about losing my dad. Now, a lot of people look at me, they look who I've worked with, like Ray Dalio, or chairing a big theater celebrity foundation board, and they want to meet people they think will change their life, not realizing maybe meeting me might do that, depending on the day, depending on the ask. And most people glossed over that post. I posted many times about this. But somebody unknown to me, without connections to me, saw it. They listened to a piece of music that I'd written, and they wrote me, and they simply said, I'd love to connect. I've been listening to your music. I lost my dad a few years ago, and his birthday's coming up, and I never know how to get through his birthday, and now I think I might be able to because of what you gave to me. My name is so-and-so, they live in LA, and we had a call. Within about 5 minutes of me feeling like she valued for what I had given her accidentally by writing this music, we started to dig into these parallels, and we realized we had so much because we began with such vulnerability that the only thing left was to be real with each other. And then I asked her what she needed. And she paused, because most people rarely get asked that. They get pitched what somebody else needs. And she wasn't ready for it. So I told her what I'd heard her say. I told her what I think or thought she needed. And she started crying. And I said, I asked if she was okay. And she's like, you just gave me gift number 2, which is I felt heard. And I have a big event in LA. She's now coming. She's bringing somebody that if I said it, everyone would want to come to this event because they buy tickets to this person's shows on the planet. But she's bringing her friend because her friend wants that same value I gave her. So in the world of when you're connecting with somebody, which can relate to marketing or everything else, if you simply approach it the way that you would want to be approached and you work on that in yourself, the world opens up in a completely different way. Because I did not know this person had access to A-list celebrities. She had a sense maybe for me, for the board that I chair, that I might have some access, but not that I had that type of trusted access that some of those people were coming to my event. And I didn't market or say who I was coming. You can't even find my events online. You have to be invited in. But she built trust, and then she took action. From taking those things, now I will hopefully help change her life in return.
Yeah, got it. So sorry for your loss. I
Thank
know
you.
I lost my man as well because of cancer. It's life. Let's go ahead. David.
Well, I just want to pause and say thank you for sharing that back. And I'm sorry, however long ago, for your loss.
Yeah.
My father too. It was complications of cancer and kidney, and the loss of somebody you don't really understand until you lose a parent yourself or somebody who raised you like one, because it's a more profound loss than you can describe. But for anyone who has, it changes your perspective on your whole life overnight, because you don't know how to say goodbye because you also are them living without them. So yes, you can move on, but I don't think you move forward. I think you start to move in parallel a different way.
Of course. David, you mentioned about. I've heard about such thing in Christianity. For example, it's better to treat others how you want to be treated. But honestly, I can't agree completely with that. So it doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong, but let me explain why I can't agree with that. Because if I want to be treated in some way, it doesn't mean that others want to be treated in totally the same way, because people are different, they have different habits, different interests. And for example, if something can work for me, others want something else, something different. That is why you mentioned that we need to listen, to understand others, and then to make something for them. So can you tell how you understand this quote, to be treated like you wanna be treated?
Absolutely. So let me qualify. This is specifically in how somebody builds trust with you and you build a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So universal truth. No one wants to sit down with somebody and have that person talk at them for 20 minutes and walk away. That is what going to a conference is like. Universal truth. No one wants to build a connection, spend time with somebody, say at that same conference, and then the person never follows up, never talks to them again. Waste of time. No one wants to walk into a room and be asked a question and then not have that question answered, and then the person just goes into their pitch. No one wants to feel like they are window dressing for the next great person to go into that person's life. And what most people do is absolutely different than what most people want themselves. And this is where I say there's a very refined way to do this, which is anytime I meet somebody, I want to talk with them. I want to ask them questions. I want them to ask me questions back. That's 30% of people, according to data, who, when I am curious to them, ask me a single question about myself. When I tell them a little bit about what I do, but I'm not going to name drop the people that I know, or that I'm a best-selling author and a startup founder just closing my round and I work with Ray. That doesn't matter, because those are things that I've done. What matters is how I want to be heard. And in any connection, at any level of person and any circumstance, we want to walk in and feel like we were heard, feel like we were valued, and feel like somebody wanted to focus and spend the time with us. And that doesn't matter what opportunity you want from it or where you are or who you are. And I have talked and worked with some of the most well-known people on this planet. And when I sit with them and I say, what can I do to help you today? They are flabbergasted. They are shocked because no one asked them that. People only ask them, can they help the person asking?
Yeah.
And I have walked into rooms, including rooms where I shouldn't walk around going, my dad's in hospice. And I've had the hardest shelled people that look like they are not going to be that connection you need take me to the side and go, what's your dad dying from? Mine's on his deathbed now. And by being courageous enough to approach it at a humane level, I have built some of the most insane relationships in the world, which funded my startup, helped me sell my book, built a lot of what I've built in this quote, orchestrated connecting empire. And all of it's come around from wanting to be treated the way I want somebody to be treated in building a relationship.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, amazing. David, we have the question from Joseph Richard, and he's asking the difference between off marketing and digital marketing. So basically, if you build connections on digital, can you tell how it's different? Because many people are going to events, build connections there. But what about digital? Can we build these connections without seeing people online? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there was this thing called COVID, and everyone got comfortable being on video. They got comfortable building connections, whether it was on a WhatsApp call or a FaceTime call or a Zoom or a Teams or the rest. Connection is not only built in person, connection is based on how you approach it. Now, there's a difference in marketing than relationship building, and I'm not an expert in marketing. I'm an expert in only one thing, which is getting out of the way so the right people I know can meet the right people. And so I wouldn't, with all respect to that question, be able to answer the full part of it, but I can say in terms of your question, Anatoly, right? I built relationships and trust with people that I've never met in person. I jokingly tell them I'm either 5'2" or 6'1" when I'm right in the middle at 5'8", and then when they meet me once in a while, they're shocked, either because I look too small or I look too big. But I just do it to mess with them. I actually tell them my real height, but they have this larger life sense of me just by looking at this little screen like you and I are on.
Yeah.
So the approach for it is what matters. And the old school approach, which is we meet, here's my card in your face, let's connect, that ROI is maybe 10%. When I meet somebody at a conference and they want to exchange information, I don't do it. I see if they want to talk to me. And if they're too important for me, they're too busy for me, or they're simply just not the right connection, I don't choose to connect further. But if I want to, and this is on a Zoom call, in a conference, while on a stage, or just with an intro, I just very purposely ask them if they would like to connect more. And it's basically asking if they want to respect my time and me respect theirs. And if they answer yes, I connect. That is a 95% follow through rate, which means then my conversion rate into a client, member of my community, investor in my startup, beta user, somebody who buys my book, is batting around 95%, which is insane when you look at the metrics of what you have to market to. But when I raised for my startup, my first round, I raised in 7 weeks because I'd spent 10 years building the relationships first. We try to inverse it. We just think, all right, well, I need this. Can I get it? I got it. Move away. And I thought, I don't need anything. Let me develop it. What will happen? And my ROI in the long term was much greater than anyone trying in the short term.
Yeah, nice. David, I want to ask about advice for busy people. For example, I want to build connections with others. I really want it. But when I wake up at 6 a.m., what I can do, I start developing things. Then I can finish this developing at 10 p.m. So I can spend the entire day just to do stuff that I can do, that I like. And it's really tough to find time. to do something else. For example, I have this podcast. I like it. I will never skip it because I like to connect with people. I like to talk to them, to learn from them, especially to share this value with others. But I'm so busy to do other things. So busy. Even for me, it's tough to find time for this podcast, but I usually do it because I enjoy this experience. But can you advise busy people like me what to do? I mean, like when it's your business model to connect with people, to build networks, but for busy people who don't have time for that, but they need, can you tell how to prioritize probably time or how to find the right time? Any advice about that?
Absolutely. One, it's a very long day. I'm also a morning person, and I mean, my day yesterday was 4:30 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. So, and here we are in a morning podcast, East Coast, but I just do it, right? If you have the grit, the drive to do it, and you can put the time in. But why are you doing it? What is that greater purpose? What are you putting all that energy towards? If you can define that to other people, then what I'd say always is, this is a constant mistake, right? Your solution's a little different, Anatoly, because you built a podcast to connect with people by amplifying them amplifying you. You can build new relationships without just needing to build all day. Most people don't have that type of courage to start something and to keep going with it as you have. But biggest mistake people make, your head's down, you're building something, you're investing in something, you're writing something. And then when you're ready, you go, hey, world, here it is. My event's next week. Come do it. And then no one shows. When a startup founder builds a product and they haven't set up the anticipation for that product, then when they have it, they go, here I am. Look what I have. And everyone goes, where have you been? Or I don't know you yet. So we have to carve out a certain amount of time. Doesn't have to be every day, but it has to be every week. That intentionally is putting out there how you can be helpful to people, how they can ask back and learn about your purpose so they can be advocates for you. They can say, hey, I know you've been working all week, but there's a new startup event launching here. Why don't you come with me to it? I know you're about to launch your new 95 language chatbot. Maybe you can try it out there because there's a bunch of people from, another country and they don't know how to communicate. Whatever it might be, you have to have the investment in time for people to understand your purpose. They have to feel like you spent the time for them. It could be that what you do for them is build something because you can snap your fingers and build it and they don't even understand it. It could be for other people that you did something totally different because you just showed up. Or if they say, my mom's losing a battle with cancer, you say, let's grab some coffee and let's sit for an hour. And the hour you spend is not just healing, but if you're doing this with purpose and intent, it's not manipulative, it's strategic. Because what has happened in my life, and this is 25 years of doing this now, is I went with somebody with zero connections. I had my mom's best friend who was like my grandmother, introduced me to her best friend who was like my grandmother in New York. And I went from knowing a few musicians to knowing thousands of family offices and exited founders and politicians and people who are or are the close friends of celebrities and founders of Bollywood and all this because I paused in my day before I made this my whole thing. I was running a large foundation. I was running a film company, and I realized relationships are the absolute key to move something forward. You have to invest in it as much as you're investing in yourself and what you're building.
Yeah, good advice. David, my audience likes to learn about AI. I think everyone should implement AI today. I do a lot things with AI. I did it before ChatGPT was released in 2022. Then I became more aggressive with that. And today I execute almost everything that I can find about AI. Probably I don't spend enough time to learn about AI because I like execution. I sometimes I don't know terminology. Sometimes I don't know what does it mean. I just take stuff and try to implement. I fail a lot, but I keep doing that, and it helps me to grow everything what I have. You mentioned many times about building connections, about authentic, about trust. Can you tell where to put AI on this process? I mean, like you have some workflow, you have the process, but anyway, how AI can help you, for example, to achieve better results?
Sure. So I've launched my own startup, which is called SOAR Connect. SOAR stands for Strength of Authentic Relationships. And so the belief in AI is that AI is going to replace us. AI might replace a lot of tasks, but AI is not going to build trust between the two of us. AI might listen to this conversation and realize there's a couple of follow-ups and suggest it, but it's not going to do it for us. Either I feel like I should honor you back by me being on your podcast and you also getting my book and maybe getting a few people to read it, to follow up with you and think about the type of connections that you need. One friend in particular, he is what I call my yacht connector. So his entire world is selling mega yachts and he does philanthropy events globally with the UN. So meeting that friend, whose name is Alistair, might be really useful because there might be business, but the fact his business is also global might be really interesting. So if I say I'm going to connect you to him and I will get his permission first, it's a double opt-in, then I will do it. AI can help me remember that I need to do that. It can give us a summary of the conversation. It could even try to draft it, but it cannot connect for me because then if his side connects in an automated way, it's not going to work. Humans are not going to adapt fully into technology for what is the social emotional part of this, but the system around it, I believe, will change drastically and is. And so for my world, everyone's trying to automate connections, take your introductions, make them happen faster, do pattern recognition. There's a lot of startups in the space trying to do this. And then I think, that's great, but I run a theater foundation based on the playwright Arthur Miller, and on the advisory board and in emails to me are A-list celebrities. Why would I ever want to give technology that to suggest to somebody else I can make that intro? Why would everyone want their contact information put out there in a way that could get back to me, or have people try to use my name with a connection to Ray Dalio just because I worked for him and his family? They know, the Dalio family know, I would never give somebody their information, and I would always ask their permission before making an intro because I built my trust based on that. And when they make an intro for me, when it happens, it's the same. So you can augment a huge amount of this, but you cannot replace the human way to do it. I think AI is going to get insanely smart and take over a lot of things. It might give people who don't know how to ask questions the right questions, but it can't ask the question, then immediately listen and tell you how to respond. At that point, the person will know you're not in a conversation with them, that you weren't actually listening. I've had people who send me the most beautifully written emails that were written by ChatGPT. And when I respond back or I'm in a chat with them, they suddenly become idiots because they front-loaded their intelligence with technology, but they never spent the time to understand how to have a conversation. And I'm really good at having conversations, and I can know instantly when somebody's not being real.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I think, it's not, I think, honestly, I started to implement AI even to something that I didn't expect before. So on my YouTube channel, my latest videos for the last month were recorded by AI avatar, not me. It's interesting, nobody saw that. Nobody. So it's AI avatar instead of me, because almost I like for a long time to film these videos, but I have no this time. If AI can provide this job much better, faster than me, of course I lost some engagement, but I see how these technologies are growing, and I replaced myself with AI avatar. And for another project, we even increased engagement by using AI avatar, because AI avatar can show emotions, can speak clearly, many things. So, but I agree about building connections with others. Probably you can replace some educational content, But if you build connections, of course, we need two human beings. I don't know, probably, David, in the future, you will tell me when I invite you again to speak on this podcast, you will tell, my AI avatar will speak instead of me. So,
So here's the question, right? Yes, it probably could. I have enough podcasts. I have a book about this. I have tons of writings. Something so intelligent with pattern recognition could probably figure out all of that. But would you want to listen to my avatar, or would you want to then punt it for your avatar to listen to me and give you the summary?
if it's good quality, honestly, David, I like to watch YouTube videos about historical events AI generated. It's quality. I get value from these videos. I enjoy watching these videos.
Sure. And some of the people who did those videos themselves about historical events did it horribly. And there'll be good things that technology does and bad things. But how we stay creative, how we stay innovative, and how we feel that our soul is being filled by connecting with another person. Like when everyone gets what we in America we call a Hallmark card, and it's like some generic line that was written and market tested to make you feel better for like losing your parent, it feels completely fake. When I posted about my dad on Facebook and LinkedIn, and most people wrote back, I could tell which were all the AI generated replies. When somebody wrote back with a misspelling and said, your dad was my hero when I took his class, nothing is going to ever write that for them. That's the person that I wrote back. Everyone else who goes, sorry for your loss, it's just like clicking a button, and I didn't reply to them. So there is something that I believe has to stay in our humaneness and humanity with each other. I think AI is going to augment a huge amount of it, but it has to be designed to augment it. And this is the basis of what my startup is. It takes all the data of how you connect with people, builds a trust score based on my assumption and a huge bunch of testers that I've worked with now to understand how the story about time being spent can be quantified into a score. But that score is supposed to create one action, which is if you say to me, I would like to get this product that I've built that can translate in 95 languages more into the shipping industry. If you valued the conversation we had today and the friendship being built, could you help me figure out if there are friends you have in that world that might want to have a conversation?
Yeah.
And AI could write that, but it couldn't have set up this hour we have together. And it could automate the follow-up. It could give me data points. It could write the email for me to write my friend. But I had to build trust with that guy, Alistair, and I had to build trust with him by him saying to me, I'm moving to another city with my family. I don't know any people there. And I go, I got you. You should meet these two friends. Now they're all friends. Their kids play together. I gave him value that a business tech or an AI avatar wouldn't think of because it wouldn't think to do it for personal without an objective. And if that is a benefit to you to then benefit him, that's also 7 years in the making from our first introduction to us being here today now. And I think the systems tech I'm building could facilitate some of those ripple effects, but you have to keep the human in the middle in order to be the antidote to what technology does currently, where multiple times in Miami, I was staying at the same hotel. I jumped in an Uber. It sent me south instead of north into traffic. And I, to this day, have not been able to complain to Uber because it is all AI and all automated, that they sent me to the wrong address multiple times. I couldn't get investors that I know to get through to Uber. My friend couldn't get his ex-wife to solve this problem. And Uber's offices in New York, they're in a building owned by somebody that I know. And with all of that, I still can't take Uber when I stay at this hotel in Miami anymore because we are digitally stupid at the same time we think we're so smart.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I think like we need to test things and to have the mix between human beings, to give everything to connection to humans, and to solve something with AI. A lot of things we can solve with AI without hurting human connections and experience. Yeah, I agree with that. David, I have my final question. It's very important question for my audience.
Okay.
You have great experience. You wrote a book that I'm going to read. I'm pretty sure someone who can listen to this podcast will read this book as well. But I want to help newcomers, someone who want to become an expert in one day like you to achieve great success, but they don't have experience, they don't have right knowledge, and they need to start from scratch. For example, for many years, companies had interns to solve some boring tasks, manual jobs. But today we can see a different picture when big companies like Microsoft, Google, they're developing AI agents that can replace all these students, interns, and even smart people can lose jobs because of AI. Like Google laid off a lot of people, IBM like 8,000 people, Microsoft 9,000 people. So people, very smart people, can lose jobs because of AI. And we can see that like in the US in 2025, 65,000 people in big tech companies lost jobs because of AI. It's a big struggle for newcomers who want to start, and they usually started on companies to do some manual boring task, then acquire experience to become an expert. Today it's tough for them. So, Jay, my main question to you, forget about your book, forget about your experience. It's your first day. You wanna build great connections. You wanna teach others how to build networking connections, but you know nothing about that. It's just your dream, your wish, and you wanna achieve your goal. What will you do? Everything today. If nobody hires you, if any your request is denied, what will you do if you do everything from scratch?
So, in that situation, which is unfortunately what millions of people are experiencing at this moment, you feel like you have a loss of sense, of self, of hopelessness, that the path you thought was forward, there's no forward. So most people feel alone in that and they don't share it with other people. So I would express that frustration, that concern to the people around me. I would look at the people that I grew up with, the people who I've interacted with, and then I would just buck up and I would try to go to whatever events, whatever groups I can to build relationships. Not with an objective just to help myself, but just to build more relationships because I need them. Because right now I don't know how to move forward. There's not an apply for a job, get that, AI replace that. There's not a university I can go to where I can afford, whatever the situation might be. You have to start with who's around you and build more people around you. That is what I did when I got to New York and I knew one person and then four and now tens of thousands. And you have to figure out how to have your worth not be measured by what other people think of you, what's in your bank account, or simply what you believe is the way society has prescribed your worth to be. If you figure out what you want to do to give to this world, the type of work that you want to have, the mission that you're on, that ideally is greater than yourself. If I was figuring that out and I did not know that in my 20s, it took to my mid 30s to really figure that out. And everyone called me precocious, but it took me a while. From that, if I really figure out what that purpose is, what that action needs to be, the people that I've invested in, the purpose that I've worked towards, at some point it will start to click and change. But we live in a world that is constantly changing, and the fears we have now are fears people had when industrialization happened. You needed less workers to make something, and we thought we'd lose all those worker jobs. We thought when technology existed that we'd lose a lot of jobs in media. We did, but there begat thousands of influencers, a different way to be a communicator with the following. You have to make yourself adaptable and you have to make yourself purposeful. That's really the goal. If you are purposeful and intentional and a caring person who is driven, the more you build relationships, at some point, something will change for you. If you are self-centered or selfish and a taker, you might get a lot early on, but if you're super hot and super wealthy, you can keep doing it. But if you're not those things, because those are also privileges, the only way you'll get ahead is by being purposeful and intentional with those around you. That is a lesson I wish I knew years ago. It's now become the lesson. And that's how I believe we can go from that feeling of hopelessness to being hopeful, because somebody hears us. And then when we take an action for them, we cannot see the effect from it years later. But I helped a friend in college. Her home was a mess. Her parents didn't want to pay for losing the security deposit. So I lent her my vacuum cleaner, right? I'm not giving some highfalutin story. Like, I lent her a vacuum cleaner. She didn't really know how to use it. So I helped her vacuum. 5 years later, we're both in New York City, and her parents remember me saving them money on the security deposit. And they ask if I want to come to this event. I come to this event. I don't even think I owned like a suit. I think I had to like borrow one from a friend. And I walk in there, and I wasn't the guy who saved them a security deposit. I was, however, I showed up in that moment because they valued me enough to put me in, and I could not have predicted 5 years before I would have ended up in that room. That room brought a lot into my life because I helped somebody vacuum their floors. Simple action, ripple effect down the line. We have to act with generosity enough for that to become so commonplace. There's enough ripples that at some point it does come back to you. It's just not something you can instantly get. Therefore, you can't instantly feel lost, not knowing how to start. Start with the people around you.
Awesome. I think you're not only a good connection builder, you're good with storytelling as well. Also, I like how you can share all these stories. Thanks a lot for taking part in this podcast, for sharing all these valuable bombs. Welcome back anytime to bring more value. I enjoyed this experience. Tell the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
So the book's the main thing, because I built this really beautiful test I want everyone to take for free, which is my connector test. So my website, orchestratingconnection.com, is the easiest way to keep in touch with me. I encourage everyone to do a little self-reflection by taking that test, and you can find out everything about my world from links from there into my private community, into my startup, into everything else that I do.
Awesome, guys. You can find the link in the description below. I recommend to anyone to take this book to learn, because you can see a lot of value. It can help you to build your community, to find your way from hopeless to have great results. David, thanks again. A big pleasure to speak with you, to learn from you. It's so valuable. I'm going to read your book. I recommend to anyone to take this book and learn how to build your own network. Okay, guys, love you. See you.